Russian President Vladimir Putin says his foreign ministry is studying US President Donald Trump's proposal to join his board of peace for Gaza and will reply soon. It comes after the foreign ministers of 7 nations, including Saudi Arabia, Turkiye and Qatar, agreed to join. In a statement, they say the ministers reiterate their country's support for the peace efforts led by President Trump. They reaffirm their commitment to supporting the implementation of the missions as a transitional administration aimed at consolidating a permanent ceasefire, supporting the reconstruction of Gaza and advancing a just and lasting peace. Well, on the ground in Gaza, 3 journalists have been killed in an Israeli airstrike. Their vehicle was targeted in central Gaza while they were on assignment for the Egyptian Committee for Gaza Relief. The organisation says the crew was about 5 kilometres away from Israeli-controlled areas. Israel has continued its attacks on Gaza. That's despite a ceasefire that's been in place since October. At least 11 people were killed across the Strip just on Wednesday alone. Al Jazeera's Tareq Azzoum is live for us in Gaza City. Good to see you, Tareq. So, as I mentioned there, we understand, Tareq, those killed were journalists on assignment with links to that Egyptian organisation. What more are you learning, and how does this fit into all of that evidence of continued attacks in Gaza?
Well, Neve, what we are learning is deeply troubling. These were journalists on assignment operating with links to the Egyptian Humanitarian Committee, and there is no any evidence so far that they were involved or engaged in any military activity. The Israeli military said that the committee's team was operating a drone to gather intelligence information about Israeli soldiers deployed in nearby areas, while civilians and eyewitnesses on the ground confirmed that the vehicle was completely civilian with the committee's logo being attached on the vehicle's front. And also we have heard from the committee itself that those journalists were documenting the activities being conducted by the committee in central Gaza, as the committee has been responsible for providing shelter services for displaced families in that area. And the committee itself has a long history that is known also for the Israeli side. We saw before in previous operations to recover the remains of Israeli captives in different geographical locations in Gaza, many representatives of the Egyptian committee who have been coordinating with ICRC and armed factions to retrieve the bodies of the Israeli captives. So the committee is quite known for the Israeli side, and what shows this is that despite the language of ceasefire phases and diplomatic frameworks, the reality on the ground has not shifted as Israel continues to attack targets it claims they are legitimate without providing any verifiable proof. And once again, as you know, journalists are paying the price.
And Tareq, there seems to be an awful lot of discussion at the moment, isn't there, about who may or may not be on Donald Trump's so-called board of peace. I mean, how do people there in Gaza feel about having their fate decided by this board? I mean, do they see it as a means to a better life?
Well, this idea is not being received as a pathway to a better life, but more as a mechanism imposed from outside Gaza without Palestinian consent or representation. Yes, there is a deep sense of anger and disbelief over how many figures associated with the destruction of Gaza being rebranded as peace brokers. On the ground, people told me that they are still quite angry about the selection of the Board of Peace members, and saying that it feels like less about being a peace initiative and feel more like as an attempt to rebrand the architects of the genocide in the Strip in the shape of diplomacy. This has been the main sentiment on the ground, and people are believing that there might be no significant or tangible changes coming out from the Board of Peace, given the fact that many figures have long history in terms of choking the Strip and with reflecting harm on Gaza civilians who have been really bearing the brunt of not just the genocidal war, but also regarding previous rounds of conflicts that erupted over the past decade.
As always, Tareq, many thanks. Tareq Azzoum there in Gaza City.
Don't miss out and get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.